Looking back on my preliminary task, it's easy to see that I've learned a lot of things. The most obvious thing would be the editing, as in the prelim task it was very basic and consisted of only over editing, where I applied cuts and sounds, the non-diegetic sound. Whereas in the final piece I used more covert editing, where that meant like applying filters and things that were more subtle. I think the reason for this was because I used a different editing software. I used, in the preliminary task, iMovie, which is very basic and it's hard to figure out how to do the covert things, whereas in the final thing we used Final Cut Pro, which was just more easily accessible. Found it easier to navigate and apply things, and so I really liked it. The next easy thing to see was that a lot of our shots are shaky, and this was because we hadn't used a tripod and we used a handycam. So to improve this, we in the final thing used a tripod to get a lot more steadier shots, and to make them have more clarity and definition we used a camera which was HD instead. This meant that it wasn't as fuzzy and there was just a nicer finish to it. I also learned it was necessary to stick to what was necessary. As in the prelim task, we went a bit overboard with it, with the dialogue, and so we had to replace it with non-diegetic instrumental track because we swore in it, and this meant it looked very amateur. I also learned to prepare, because I think the reason why that happened was because we hadn't wrote a script before we came into the prelim task. We just tried improvising, and that meant that it all went horribly wrong. So for the final thing, I learned that I should write in advance what we want to say, and then it's easier to stick to the guidelines. I learned that I learned to get more covering footage than I need, as in the in the prelim task we only took a few shots and we thought we'd get what was necessary, and this meant that when it came to editing we were limited by choice, and we didn't have the flexibility to change one thing if we didn't like it. So in the final media product of mine, we took more shots than we needed, and from different angles as well, so that I had more flexibility and options when it came to editing, and it looked better altogether. Finally, I feel that personally I've learned better timekeeping and organisation, as in the prelim task was rushed with no preparation. It's easy to say we slacked because we thought it would be easy, and this resulted in an amateur finish. It didn't look good at all, and so I learned to plan more and use my time better, and then that meant if you messed up, you had time to go over and make it better, and that's everything I feel I've learned.